and welcome. I figured since I mentioned Batman Arkham City in my last video that I'd kind of pop into it and revisit why I stopped playing it. Now, obviously it's not the visuals, because this game is bloody gorgeous. Everything in it, the lighting, the weather effects, some nice weather going on now. Kind of seems like it's always shitty weather, which sort of sucks, but I guess it's a Batman game, so it's supposed to be dark and spooky and whatnot. And Batman is dark and spooky. His outfit looks pretty badass, and moving around the city is a great deal of fun. You can just grapple onto stuff. Batman glides. He's not very hard to control. You want to go down, push down. You want to go this way, push this way. And that's not a problem. Moving around the city is actually the one thing I do find very fun. If I can find a good spot to drop down here, I'll give you a good indication of why I dislike the combat in this game so much. And it's not that it feels clunky. It's not that the controls are unresponsive or anything. It's just that a monkey could do it, you know, or maybe a pair of trained parakeets or something. It's just not in any way challenging. I'll see if I can find some people, and then I'll show you what I mean. I'm no longer using the directional buttons. I'm just going to plop him down on the ground here. So I'll turn the camera, see if I can find some guys. Okay, there's a guy. He's coming towards me. Yes, he sees me. No, he's an idiot. Calling for help now? Come on. Alright, now watch this. I am not using the directional buttons. I'm using 2 fingers to tap triangle and square with the controller sitting on a coffee table. We'll see what Batman does all on his own. If I had 2 of those, you know, bobbing mechanical birds that were kind of made famous by the original Alien movie, I could probably get them to play this game. Yep, there we go. That was a pretty cool takedown. I'm not sure what caused it, because I didn't change what I was doing. So, yeah, that was challenging. You know, I'm not saying a game has to be, you know, ridiculously difficult just to be fun. I mean, I don't have time to play ridiculously difficult games. Whoop, tanks. Just because, you know, I can't spend 6 hours practicing on a single level to get past it, because I gotta go to sleep, I gotta go to work the next day, that kind of stuff. So I guess in that respect, this game's alright. You know, if you just want to play something that looks cool and makes you feel pretty epic and badass, and yeah, what the hell, go for it, right? This game will do that for you. And I think if you're, you know, a kid or a young person, and you're maybe not that great at video games, or you're an adult who's just getting into them and isn't that great at them, this might be a great game to start with. Because the visuals are really cool. The story's being decent. You know, it's not Shakespeare for sure. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Shakespeare, but it does. You know, it's Batman. You want a comic book story, you're getting one. So, that's alright. Voice acting's good, no problems there. You know, the Batmobile is awesome looking. But again, it's kind of like the combat. There's not much to it. I'm in a portion of the game right now where actually I can't access the Batmobile, so I guess I won't spoil that for you if you haven't already seen a million YouTube videos about it. But it's pretty much invincible. You know, you have to steer, kinda. Again, it doesn't offer you a whole hell of a lot of difficulty, but basically where you're pointing the camera and which direction you want to go to and look awesome there. So what do I feel happy I paid $60 for this, or $69 or whatever it is I paid for it? No. You know, yeah, okay, I've got all of Arkham City to run around in and do nothing really except beat up the same sort of respawning dudes who respawn in the same places and do the same things and have the same dialogue. And I realized why the combat in this kind of, or at least not the combat, but the way things happened in the world around you felt a little bit like somebody had made a single player mode for DC Universe and you were playing as Batman. Because DC Universe's world was similar that way, and also kind of boring that way, in a sort of typically MMO sort of way, in that the enemies were always in the same place, always doing the same thing, and you could drop down off a rooftop and beat their asses 500 times, and nothing would change. So, unless you're progressing the story and you have somewhere to go in this, there's not really any reason to explore the world. Other than to, look how cool that is, and hey, check this out. So, I don't know. It just feels really empty. It's kind of like Killzone Shadowfall was when it came out. Just beautiful, very standard kind of gameplay, but it felt more like a tech demo. This is not as bad as The Order 1886, which is basically just an interactive movie. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they shouldn't really market it as much of a game. And I think maybe the marketing for this was part of the thing. They hyped up the open world so much, but they didn't really bother to give you anything to do in it, other than beat up the same thugs. There's some quote-unquote Riddler challenges, but they're basically just excuses to take the Batmobile on like a Mario Kart course. So it's fun enough. I'm not complaining about it, but it's not what you really want from a Riddler thing. You want to be solving puzzles and stuff like that because it's the Riddler. I don't know. I haven't gotten to any boss battles yet or anything. I'm not terribly far into this. And there are some aspects about it I liked. Mark Hamill as the Joker is stellar, of course. Arguably the best Joker, or definitely in the top 3 of best Jokers ever, in my opinion. I'm sure everybody has different opinions. No complaints there. The fact that the Joker's kind of in Batman's head as this sort of evil conscience, the devil on his shoulder, is cool. I like that aspect. The sort of twisted nature of Scarecrow and the mind-altering drugs, that's pretty cool. I kind of like weird things, so, and I like horror movies and stuff, so I enjoy that part. But I would rather watch someone play through the story of this than actually do it myself. Because with the combat and stuff like that, it's so uninvolving, and you just tap triangle and square repeatedly with 2 fingers, and that you'll win the fight. Maybe in harder difficulties they change it up a little bit, but somehow I doubt it. You probably just get less health, and the enemies are tougher, or there's more of them. I'll try it out and get back to you about that, but can I recommend this to just like a grown person who wants to give their brain something to do, and who maybe enjoys being challenged and allowed to figure things out on their own? No, I wouldn't at all. Would I recommend this to maybe a busy parent who's got like an 8 or 10-year-old kid who might want to play it? They can take turns with their kid, play with them, watch their kids play it, and it's cool to watch, and makes your kid feel like a badass, and they're like, great, yeah, it's perfect for that. If you're a dad who's got a son or a daughter, or a mother who's got a son or a daughter who's also a Batman fan, or a whole family of Batman fans, and you want to sit on the couch on a Saturday afternoon and it's raining, and you want something to do and something the kids to watch that everybody can be at least somewhat entertained doing it, then yeah, this is great for that. All kinds of different costumes. You can all look whatever kind of Batman you want, different skins for stuff. When they bring in sidekicks for this, it's pretty neat. They fight along your side. You can do special combos that you wouldn't otherwise. It would have been a great excuse to throw in some co-op. But yeah, speaking from my own perspective, someone who's played games like Dark Souls, or games like, I don't know, maybe Uncharted or something, where they don't really tell you how to solve a puzzle, but it's logically laid out, and you can figure it out. I mean, even back in the day, games like The Legend of Zelda, for the Super Nintendo, the puzzles were there, and they didn't necessarily explain to you how to figure them out, but they gave you clues and then left it in your own hands, and you were more a direct cause of the plot being furthered. You felt like the story happened because of you, rather than you're happening because of the story, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I guess that's my verdict. I give it about a 6 myself out of 10. You know, it's just a meaningless number pulled out of the air, I guess, but, well, maybe even a 5. At least half the time when I'm trying to play this, I'm just like, meh. You know, there are somewhat kind of investigations where you're trying to track this crazy serial killer guy, and you get to scan the bodies with your equipment and stuff. And it's sort of neat, but again, they sort of kind of put a leash on it, and they're just like, oh, okay, push this button to further the story, and then you unlock a piece of investigative information, and you're like, oh, great, I got, you know, but you're not ever asked to solve the puzzles yourself. And a good counter, I guess, example of that would be the puzzles in Assassin's Creed 2. You started doing those, and it was up to you to figure out what the hell was going on. And if you couldn't figure out the puzzle, then you didn't get that extra piece of information that would have allowed you to put the pieces together and make a complete story out of it. So when you got the information, when you completed the puzzle, there was more of a sense of accomplishment, and there was more of a sense of satisfaction, and there was more of a sense that you were the driving force behind what was going on, behind the events that were unfolding, rather than just pushing buttons. It's like if you were watching a movie and every 30 seconds it was like, do you wish to continue watching? Yes or no. And then you have to push whatever button they tell you to push to say yes, and maybe they change it up every time just to up the challenge. It kind of feels more like that. It's great for sightseeing, you know. I really started out liking this game because of the cutscenes, because of the quality of the visuals, you know, and the controls themselves, although the fights are extremely basic and a little over guided, then, I mean, like, they're quick, they're responsive. I can go where I want to go. I can land on the rooftop I want to land on. It's easy to change the trajectory where your grappling hook is aiming when you're flying through the air. You just go through and you'll see a little icon come up. And, you know, depending where you're at, it tells you you can't do it or you can, and it's just great. You know, it's good that way. But I would have preferred if maybe the controls for Batman were a bit more like Assassin's Creed. And you know, that's not a perfect control scheme or a perfect method of getting around worlds either, but the free climbing aspect of it is pretty cool. I mean, Batman's got his grappling hook and his gear, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Batman game where there was a bit more challenge to it. Now, I only played a very small amount of Arkham Asylum, and I liked the more complex nature of the puzzles and the investigative aspects of it, but I didn't like the clunky controls. So for the opposite reasons, I didn't enjoy playing that game very much. If they had managed to combine the two in a more balanced approach, I would probably give this game a much higher score. But, like I said, it's good, cheesy fun. You know, it's a comic book level of challenge. You're not reading the Odyssey. You know, you're not reading Homer's Odyssey. You're reading a Batman comic. So you're playing a Batman comic. And if you don't expect anything more than that from it, from just an easy, mind-numbing sort of way to occupy yourself, or a way to share something with your kids who are right on this kind of level, it's great for them, you know. And I'm not saying adults shouldn't enjoy this sort of stuff. I've seen every Batman movie that's come out, some of them more than once. So I'm not trying to say, you know, that oh, well, if you play the Batman game, then you're immature, or you're a kid, or that's not what I'm trying to say. But there's a certain, lightness to it that doesn't, like, you know. Again, I'll just use Dark Souls as an example. Dark Souls type games as an example in that series. In so much as there are ways of making your life easier in that game, and some of them are by figuring strategies out for yourself. Oh, well, if I come up from this ledge and I kick a barrel over and it explodes, and I'll take out that whole room full of dogs instead of me having to go down there and slog through them with a sword or whatever. And GTA is another example of games that put the reins of control more firmly in the gamer's hands by saying, you have to go to this place and, I don't know, rescue this hostage. Or even, you know, some of the Assassin's Creed games do that. The Metal Gear Solid 5 that's come out that I'm going to play because it sounds like it's going to be really awesome. It's the sort of game that excels at just giving you a scenario and saying, you know what, it's your job to figure it out. You're in control. Far Cry was like that. 2, 3, and 4. I played those 3. And they were great for that. It's what I loved about them. If I wanted to have Sorry about that. I keep forgetting about the time limit when I'm recording on PlayStation. Anyway, so yeah, they would let you jump into the action any way you wanted. You could park on a hill and snipe, keep it nice and slow and nice and relaxed. You could go down and mix it up. This doesn't really give you any options. Just hop down and mash the buttons, or jump into the Batmobile. Some of the Batmobile tank sections are the only time where you actually feel like you're doing a little bit of combat, because you have to dodge back and forth and avoid shots from those things. But all the tanks are the same, and it kind of devolves into just a mindless sort of Space Invaders sort of experience with really cool visuals. But yeah, I'm going to stop going on, since obviously if I had to start recording again, I've gone over 15 minutes, and that's more than my attention span most of the time. I might edit this down. But if you stayed all to the end, well, thanks. This has been my first sort of review, and if I didn't bore the crap out of you, you might listen to the next one I do. Not sure which game I'm going to do. If you've got any requests, hey, shoot me a message. I might not have the game, but I can do what I can. Have a good one.